Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan. And man, Adam, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a pretty crazy week here in Philadelphia, and we have a coaching search to talk about. A press conference from the owner in which a lot of information was dispersed and a lot of reactions were drawn from that. And then, of course, we can put a little bit of a bow on Doug Pederson and what happened there with him being fired. I do want to remind or just let everybody know, I hope they were able to catch. I think it's the first one we ever did. We did an emergency ITB TV podcast, right, as soon as Doug was fired. And we live streamed it through our YouTube page. So I hope everybody was able to catch that. And the beauty is, if you can't watch it live, it stays up on the YouTube page for there. So I want to thank our friends at Rebel Hill, the guys who produce our Sunday show.
Yes, James
they
and
helped
Zach.
us out.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, they helped us out. And now we know, because, look, a head coaching hire is going to happen sometime. I don't know when, but we know we have an outlet now to do some more immediate things, because people were hitting us up on Twitter immediately.
Yeah, you're doing an emergency pod. I'm like, I said, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We were. Yeah, believe me, folks. We're pretty in tune with what you want. I look at the boards. I see what's out there. Occasionally, I look at social media and on our feed on ITB, and I see what you guys want. So that's kind of the way. It's just like we said. We craft our shows about what you want to hear and what you want to know.
Right.
And you guys are the reason why we're doing it. I mean, we're not making a lot of money on this thing. It's like peanuts. We're doing it because we love doing it, and we'll see where it goes once the pandemic is over. We hope to include all you all out there, and hopefully we want to see you in person. That's something that we're going to do. We already have it kind of worked out, but we just don't know when we can do it. So, but what we got is a coaching search, which
we do. We've got.
I'm interested in. Yeah.
We're going to get to some of those names.
Yeah.
I want to put a bow on the Doug Pederson thing. Tuesday he meets with the owner. Monday he meets with the owner. We talked about it going in. We knew that Doug had to share a vision for the team, and not just one position, one on the staff, but obviously the offense and defense. But there was a lot of emphasis on the offense and how to fix it. And we knew that Jeffrey needed to hear something different. And what's your 411 here on what went down Monday?
Well, look, remember, though, when we say Monday, they had two meetings. They had one at his home in Philadelphia suburbs, the Tuesday, and then Monday, the following Monday in Florida, they had a meeting. And I want to be as kind as I can about this, because I don't know Doug Pederson. I'm not saying I believe this, that there are people around the league thinks he clearly wanted to be fired. And let me explain why. Knowing what you and I have outlined for 6 weeks here, we know where this was going. He was going to have to change coaches. I try to be as kind as I could to Press Taylor. I knew that it wasn't going to work. We know Jeffrey Lurie. Okay, our fans know. If you're I call a fan insider. If you really follow the team and you follow what Jeffrey Lurie said over the years, you know what he wants. He wants innovative offense. He wants a top 5 offense. By the way, he talked about that in his press conference.
He did.
I'm not telling you, folks. I don't put shit out there. Excuse me, unless I know it's right. I try to give you as much as I can, as far as I can go without giving the answers to the test. I bring it to the water. You got to drink it. You can figure it out on your own. It's exactly what happened. Nothing changed over the last 2 weeks. Doug came in with a bad list of coaches in terms of some were good, some were not good enough. That makes it bad. In Jeffrey's eyes, give me innovation, give me special, cutting edge. This is what he wants. This is, by the way, this is what David Tepper wants, talking to Panther sources. He wants guys who are forward vision with it. He's going to hire a GM very soon. And once he gets that guy, it's going to be done. He's got on Wednesday, he's got a couple of guys coming up here. He wants things done a certain way. These guys believe in analytics, okay? You need to know this. When you sit down with your owner, you've only been with him for 5 years. This would have been 6 years. You played for him.
Right.
Could you not have a list that shows, yes, you're forward thinking? Lurie was, I'll give Jeffrey credit as much as I had the same criticism that the fans had on certain things, which we'll get into. He did bring you into his thinking. Jeffrey's got a long-term vision. It's clearly to get younger. Good. I was glad I heard that. And he also said in this press conference, I know we're not getting that fully now, but I want to just give you what you said, my 411. Doug wanting to sort of run it back. Let's go with the same group or most of the same group. 2 were let go, obviously. And one, the defensive guy, the linebacker coach left, wanted out on his own, we're told. But the other 2 guys were not brought back, Marty Morningweg and Scangarello. But Doug wanting to bring just about everybody else back was not going to work. This is a 4-11 team. That offense is, I didn't even look this up. Jeffrey knew the number was 31st in the National Football League. Do you think he's going to settle for that? Of course not. How do you come back with this list? Come on.
Right. I don't know.
That's what happened. I mean, Wentz is tied into it, Geoff. There's no question Wentz is tied into it. But his plan was to have Press Taylor be the offensive coordinator. Okay? No, you can't do this. You could reassign him and say, hey, listen, Jeffrey, I want to bring in what's the guy from Dirk Cutter who I mentioned, John G. Filippo, who's brilliant here. And Dirk Cutter's a really good developer of quarterbacks. Two guys who coach hard, okay? That's what Carson needs. Bring any Pep Hamilton, okay, of the Chargers, okay? Brian Schottenheimer got fired on Tuesday. Will be a great quarterbacks coach because he coaches bleeping hard. But not that he would have known that Schottenheimer was getting fired. But anyway, come up with a list of guys who are proven coaches. This is what it's what Jeffrey talked about. That stuff in the press conference I agreed with. He could have saved his job. I told people on our bleeping Monday pod, I'm telling you, Jeffrey Lurie does not want to fire this guy. He doesn't. He gave him another chance. He didn't do it. He didn't do a good enough job. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to go back to one of the podcasts that we did around this time last year, because about this time last year, they've already fired Mike Rowe and they've already fired Carson Walsh, and they started, looking for new guys. And I do remember we did a podcast, Adam, in which we said, hey, we know Doug Pederson didn't want to fire these guys. That's why he was at the podium saying they're going to be back. And then he has a meeting with ownership and all of a sudden they're fired. It's pretty easy to do the math there. And what we said was, a guy who wins a Super Bowl and goes to the playoffs and doesn't get to determine the fate of his own staff is eventually not going to tolerate it. And the one thing that we knew about Doug, though, was that he was, I don't want to call him a company man, but, one of the reasons he was hired was because of his comfort with the organization and vice versa. They knew that Doug understood the dynamics of the organization. There's Jeffrey, there's Howie, what they're into, yada, yada. But everybody, we said at that time, has a boiling point. So you put it right up on a platter. Doug went into that last meeting absolutely knowing that Jeffrey wanted to hear more. And as we reported, even people on his own staff were telling him to kind of get it together and think about something better than what he was planning. The fact that he didn't, I don't think Doug's the village idiot. I think he knew exactly what was going on. If I had to just read tea leaves, and this is just my speculation, right? Yeah. He knows he's in on that contract too, right? For I think
a lot of money coming.
Yeah,
a lot of years.
A lot more years. So I thought it was very interesting that Jeffrey Lurie said that he wouldn't be shocked if Doug has a job by the end of the week. Now, I don't know if he will or not, but if I'm Doug Pederson, I'm pretty confident I'm probably going to get a job someday. It might not be this week. It might not be this year. May have to take a year off, but I just think he had enough and he wanted to be in control of his own guys.
No, that I agree with. Cause I was talking about this in our live stream and I could just we have a little bit more time now. We're not pressed for time here. So I talked to, I got to say 2 years ago, a year or 2 years ago. I can't remember. We've talked about so many things with this football team. My mind is like mush, but
it was definitely
I remember telling you, what's that?
It was definitely a year ago. We talked about how Doug was not going to keep taking this.
Yes, that was from one of his coaching friends. I'm not obviously going to get into who it was, but someone I met on the road at Senior Bowl one year, and I was checking in with him, and he said, "Listen," he goes, "I'm just telling you, I don't know what they're doing there, but it might have been after the Grow and Carson Walsh thing. I don't remember, but I just know
that would be last year. Yeah,
it was his friend who's in coaching said, "Listen, this is not what he wants. He loves it there. He likes the people, but he doesn't." He didn't mention the owner, this guy. He just said, listen, this is not what Doug wants.
Right.
But again, and you and I have talked about this, if you don't want that, then push the owner to the side and get better coaches. Or the guys or coach your coaches harder, teach them, manage them. He's not good at it. That's the 25% of his job, which is inexcusable. That I would, if he reported me, he just wouldn't keep his job. You got to be able to coach your people. You're not just a play caller, okay? He's not an offensive coordinator, head coach. He needs to understand that. When he goes to his new job, he's going to have to understand. You got to know when your guys aren't doing well. Andy Reid was a master at it, incredible at it.
Sure.
The problem with Andy and his downfall in Philly was he lost so many good coaches. He just didn't have a good enough staff. But I think Doug, I think Press Taylor, in the right situation with the right coach who can manage him, probably has a chance to be a pretty good coach. I'm not saying he's not a good coach, but if you want him to manage a type A quarterback, you as a head coach needs to know that he needs a type A coach.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly there could be a little bit of a perfect storm situation where Press Taylor just might not be the right guy for Carson Wentz, because we've talked about some of the issues with Wentz and how you have to coach him hard. Maybe Press Taylor and Doug go somewhere else, have a different quarterback who's a little bit built and wired differently than Carson, and they have success. That's the great thing about this sport, is that time will eventually tell. You and I, we relay the messages. You know, I don't know if my opinion is right or wrong or even matters. It's what Jeffrey felt compared to what Doug felt, and now they're going separate ways, and we'll see. It'll become almost like the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick thing. You know, who's going to have more of the success moving forward? We'll find out. I did find it very interesting, to put a bow on this, Adam, that I'm sure you did too. I know the way we think the same way. You notice when Jeffrey Lurie talked about the requirements of his new head coach, the first thing he said was, this guy has to be a good leader of coaches. He said good leader of coaches, a good leader of men, a good smart offense, a smart mind. He didn't say offense, but the first thing he said was leader of coaches. That stuck out to me like a sore thumb, man. I mean, that's everything we just have talked about all year.
I've talked about this. I talked about this in our debut shows in spring of 2018. Just because you and I knew the way that Wentz needed to be coached, and it wasn't happening. And throughout 18 and in 19, we heard it was not happening well from our sources, and we're like, this is not good. This is probably part of why Wentz is not playing that well. You don't become an elite quarterback and all of a sudden you lose it. It's not by osmosis. Doesn't mean he's not partially at fault. Of course he is, the quarterback, but the head coach. Now we don't want to make this, the Carson Wentz podcast, but you don't become a bottom 5 quarterback by chance. And the head coach needs to accept that. And he needs to know what, if he got the Charger job or some other job where there's a great quarterback, he needs to know what the guy needs. Now, if the guy's a passive quarterback, it doesn't need to be coached hard, that's fine. Know what your coaches and your players need to be, how they need to be coached. It's not just players who need to be coached. It's the coaches. Well,
certainly that'll be a big requirement of the next head coach. We'll get in a little bit to who that might be. I do want to talk about Jeffrey Lurie's press conference and some of the things he said. First, make sure you're, as we always tell you to do, check out phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fan experience with their coverage of all of the Philadelphia sports teams. They do it better than anybody else. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Make sure you're following them on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation, and check that website out, phlsportsnation.com. We'll pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, Adam. Well, Jeffrey Lurie had the press conference, the Zoom conference, and there were a lot of reactions to a lot of things.
I've seen, Geoff, in my time in this market, I've seen some times that they generally, the fans, correct me if I'm wrong, I think generally coming into this presser like Jeffrey. Generally. Okay. Yep. 1 to 10 level, probably 6.5, 7. Well, it might be a 4 right now, man. They just, you couldn't avoid the criticism. You just couldn't.
So I think some of the things that he said in the press conference, combined with some of the reporting that's been done by the media, combined with the endless cycle of, sports talk that has these things constant, I agree with you, has made a real shift in the change in how people view Jeffrey Lurie. I think they see him as someone who has been fairly successful, certainly the best owner in the franchise, in the history of the franchise, but someone who may, in the last 5 or 6 years, has changed a little bit, taking on a little bit more of a role and involvement. We have discussed this a little bit, him being more involved, and now they're starting to see that as potentially a detrimental thing for the franchise. And obviously, a lot of what there were things he said, Adam, that may have sounded nice because he has a way with words, but they really didn't do a good job of either explaining what the problems were or rationalizing why some of the things that have gone wrong are okay with him. Is that, we could pick,
Yeah. So listen, the criticism of Howie Roseman, right? Like, fans fans are obsessed with the draft. We know that. So's the owner. So's the general manager. So's personnel director. They all love the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And what the fans want, I know this because I talked to 2 friends who are season ticket holders. They cannot understand how the hell, when the owner is asked about the general manager, when you talk about accountability, why, you talk about why the head coach is not back. Could you at least say, listen, the drafts need to be better? Can't you come and say, listen, 16, great, 17, terrible. 18, good for what you had. 19 doesn't look very good on paper right now, and 20 is too early. But the drafts are inconsistent. Can you have some kind of criticism? Like, the way that he answered the question, I think Dave Sangaro from CSN Philly answered it or asked it.
I know Les Bowen asked a really good question.
And Les did too. Yeah, we'll get to Les's. I got him on here too.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff McClain as well.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you not say, listen, the drafts have to be better? Could you just admit the drafts have to be, they're not good enough?
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea.
Do that. I'm thinking, I've lived there my whole life. I know this is not going to go. As soon as I'm listening. I was able to jump in there after we were done our thing and listen in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is not going to go over well. I know that he knows better. He's lived there this is his 27th year living in Philly. What are you doing?
Yeah, some of the things he tried to pass off as reasons were just perplexing.
No,
like when he says that it's not about the evaluation of the player, it's about maybe evaluating where they're going to go, and what if you like the player, but he goes 5 spots, 3, or he said 2, 3, or 4 spots ahead of where you pick, then we have to look at that. And I'm like,
what does that mean though?
I don't get that. Howie Roseman has probably made more trades in the draft than any GM in the history of the draft, to be honest with you. I think that's accurate. So I don't know what you're talking about. They, if you're just talking about not getting Dalvin Cook a few years ago, I don't know if he was trying
they wanted him and they tried to get up there. They just trade didn't work out. But
that can't be an excuse. That can't be like, you've got to have the next player up that you have higher on your board.
Right. Yeah, right. Like, listen, in this town, you got it. The reason why everyone loves Jaws, you know why? Jaws, despite all the times he was sacked, all the bad offensive line he played with, he never took a shot at his offensive line. He never criticized him. He never said, "Oh, screw that, it was their fault." He took it like a man. He owned up. When he didn't play well, he owned up to it. Never in this town do you make excuses. You go, it's got the fans are too smart, and so is he. He sees the same stuff.
Yeah,
the drafts have to be better.
Perplexing. It was very perplexing.
Just all you got to do is say, listen, they're not good enough. Inconsistency is not acceptable to me. Mm-hmm. Every year we've got, and he talked about Andy Waddle, Catherine Rach, who's their pro personnel coordinator, Brandon Brown, Ian Cunningham, Jim Washburn's son. What's his first name?
Jeremiah.
Okay, great. You've got great people. Then there's something wrong with your process. There's something wrong. They should be great every year. Okay.
Right.
They should be great every year.
They should be
and
great.
Look, everyone gets a mulligan, but 17 was horrendous. We've called it the sins of the 17 draft. I think it's the best thing I've ever heard. So someone gave it to me, I used it. I'll admit I stole it. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine gave it to me, and I thought it was fun. I said, dude, I'm taking that. 18 was good for what it was, but you didn't have enough picks. Why do you keep trading out? Do you notice the last 2 years in his press? I don't know if you noticed last year when he talked. He said the same thing, and they wound up keeping most of their picks. Mm-hmm. He said we need to have a lot of draft picks. Well, that's good because you got to stop trading away. You need to have more picks because draft people or personnel people believe that the more picks you have, the better off you are.
Oh, sure.
It's what Bill Belichick believes. So anyway, I strongly feel if Lurie would have come in and said, look, when it comes to the draft, they have to be better. They're clearly not good enough. I need it right every year, not every other year or whatever it is. And that would have at least admit that it's not good enough. You can't come in here. Stop talking about what happened years ago, how great you were. Nobody gives a shit. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm a lifelong Philadelphian. I know these fans like the back of my hand. And he wants to think forward, for Christ's sake. He talked about that. That's, by the way, that was part of why Pederson's not back, because he wanted to run it back, and Jeffrey wants to turn the page. He knows it's a retooling. Okay, right. Great. So turn the page, man. I was, as much as I like Jeffrey, that really disappointed me that he doesn't understand the Philadelphians here. You got to get it, man. This town, you're not going to get over on him and not admitting that it's not good enough. Sorry.
Yeah, and part of me wonders if he's just reluctant to be more honest and more critical because it means that he has to be critical of himself and Howie. I mean, and maybe he already senses that the Sharks are circling around Howie, and if he just adds a little chum to that,
all he had to say is, 16 was phenomenal, 18's good, 17 was bad, and 19 needs to be better. And it goes, me as someone who loves the game and loves my football team that I own, I want better. That's all. That's all he had to say. Right. It doesn't have to be, oh, he's terrible, this is bad. No. That's not what it's about. It's about saying, as an overview, it needs to be better. That's it. And he didn't do that. I didn't think so. Did you think he did?
No, and I thought some of his stuff was so obviously trying to divert from the actual question. A lot of times he didn't answer the actual question. And someone directly asked him, I think it was Jeff McLean, if he has been more involved as an owner the last few years, right? And he said his involvement as an owner has been the same all 25 years. And I think we've discussed on this podcast several times.
I couldn't believe he said that.
It's just a flat out lie. It's just a flat out.
Listen, I understand that he doesn't want it out there that he's more involved. I understand. And I don't know if there's a great way to explain it. Like, listen, me personally, I know since Joe Banner left, he's been more involved. That's been a fact. They tried to bet me back off of something I reported years ago, and it would turn out to be true. I understand that. I get it. He doesn't want it out there. He doesn't want it out there that it's the perception that he's meddling. The thing that I know it's absolutely true is, and Joe Banner told us that. He actually said he asked a lot of questions. I like that, from strategy and performance, and he wants to learn. That's great. When you own a business, you want to know how your people are working. What are the processes good? That's fine.
Yep.
But, and not that I didn't have the problem that other people had when he told Doug Pederson to fire Mike Rowe in terms of, and Carson Walsh. It's not that I said it was the right decision or wrong decision. He owns the business. What you and I had said was, don't let Doug Pederson, don't let it get to his level. He shouldn't be involved. If he has to get involved, it's because he feels he needs to. Okay, that's on you, the head coach, not on the owner. I see it a little differently than other people. I see Jeffrey as someone who dearly cares about his team. Would I personally want him not to be involved? Yes. But if he feels like he needs to, someone's not doing their job well. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I've been conflicted on that, because I agree with you that when you're an owner, if you feel like something's not right underneath you and the person responsible for fixing it doesn't fix it, then you have to step in. And they clearly felt that Jeffrey felt that Doug wasn't going to fix the offensive issues at wide receiver and offensive coordinator. So they fired, he made him fire Groh and Walsh.
Yep.
But I like, when I think of other really good owners in the NFL, you barely ever hear their name. You never hear a Rooney associated with that in Pittsburgh, or a Bisciotti in Baltimore, a Paul Allen in Seattle. So
the late Paul Allen, yeah.
The late Paul. I'm sorry, I forget who owns the Seahawks.
I think now. I don't even remember now.
Yeah,
sister or the wife, I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, so you get into this territory where it's like, are two wrongs making a right here? It's murky.
No, but the one issue I do have, Roseman and Waddle should never feel pressure from the owner to draft a certain player. I don't care who he likes. I don't care if he's sitting in a meeting. I'm not privy to what exactly he does with the draft. But I know that he's sitting next to these guys. Okay, I mean, you can actually see it on the over the years. I don't know what they did this year, but if he should never get involved in I don't care. Like, he gave his opinion. If he's watching tape with him, he gets, that player looks really good. That's fine. It's great. But no one for any NFL team should be pressured to draft a player. From Bill Polian will always say to me, owners own, general managers manage. Jeffrey is not a personnel guy. He needs to stay out of the draft process. I'm not saying he does or doesn't, if he's involved or not. But the one thing is, if you're Roseman or Waddle, they should never feel pressure from anyone in the building to draft a certain player, whether it's the coaches or not. There's got to be a reason why these drafts are inconsistent. And I'm putting it mildly, obviously. I know some are just, the 17 draft was terrible. Right. But why aren't they better? These guys are, I'm telling you, and I agree with Jeffrey Lurie on this point. I read his transcript and listened. They got some really, really sharp people there, but something's missing here. They should ace it every year. There's something missing.
At least be better. I mean, acing is tough, but at least be better. Well, we've talked about J-Jaw and how analytics played a role in his drafting.
We put that out a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's suddenly kind of come up as a thing that reflects back on Jeffrey. And we've also talked about this past
even if it does, listen, I understand he wants analytics, okay? But as Joe Banner told us, analytics should play very little or no part in the draft. Okay, so I got a problem with it. If analytics is heavily involved, then it's because this is what I was getting at. Okay, I'm glad you brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
I get he owns a team, but they cannot feel pressure to counteract their tape study. You can't do that. If the tape tells them one thing, analytics are a tool. I love analytics. Okay, I especially love it on game day and game planning. I think it's essential.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only so much you can use numbers for. I like PFF stuff; phenomenal. I'm a big PFF fan. Football Outsiders for sure. But no analytics person who played will tell you that tape is not more important than numbers. It's just a fact.
The key, in my opinion, I agree with you. And I've spent a lot of time when I was at the Combine, as a reporter for both Wilmington and CSN, Adam. And it's a great place to be because you can get access, that in the Senior Bowl, to real high up executives. You can talk to maybe some owners, but a lot of GMs, they do their press conferences for everybody, right? Yeah. And one of the things I've really spent a lot of time talking to executives on are the drafting process, how it works. And I always kind of listened intently to the Steelers. I always listened intently to Ozzie Newsome of the Ravens and Eric DeCosta, John Schneider.
Oh, Ozzie, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
Talking to guys who've worked for Ozzie who worked for Ozzie over the however many years he was GM.
Right.
Once the board is set, it doesn't matter. He doesn't move it.
That's what I was getting at. The Steelers are the same way.
Yeah.
There's nothing that should happen at the draft that takes anybody by surprise, or as you said, nobody should feel pressured at the last minute to take one guy over the other. The whole point of that month or two or whatever leading up to the draft of research and figuring things out and question asking and then meetings, Adam, we know that there are draft meetings upon draft meetings upon draft meetings. The whole point of that is so that by the time you get to the draft, you have a board set. And you have already had your arguments, and I do believe the Eagles are collaborative. You said I believe they hear from their coaches, they hear from their analytics people, they hear from their scouts, they hear from everybody. But after you're done hearing from everybody, and look, I've heard this about the Steelers. There are some real wars that go on in there. They love it. They love to have opinion versus opinion, and you have to defend your opinion versus that. And then at the end of all that, the guy who's in charge, in this case, your GM or Howie, has to rate the board based on all of the feedback. And then when the draft comes, it should be almost as simple, unless you're trading up or trading back. Okay, these guys are. This is our board. We're all in agreement, or at least we've argued that here is the pick, right? But it hasn't always been like that, I know, for the Eagles. And if you want to even look at this last draft, I know personally from many sources that. And I think we've even talked about this, that there was a level of surprise by the personnel department, many people in the personnel department, when the Jalen Hurts pick was made. It was almost as if people were blindsided. How could that happen, that not everybody knew the Eagles were going to take Jalen Hurts at that point? Nobody should be surprised. Nobody should be like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Well, the only people would really know would be the head coach, general manager, the personnel director. Usually you don't you
got a war room though, Adam. You got people in the war room, and you're supposed to have everybody knows the board.
I'm talking about leading up to the draft. They're
not
I'm
talking about the day of though, right? I'm talking about the day of.
Yeah, well, if they were all in the war room, they would know. They would know within minutes, I would think. Although
they know what the board looks like. They have a board up there.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And in this case, it was different because it was Zoom,
virtual.
So it was all virtual, correct, or whatever application they use.
Yeah.
But the point is, you still come out of that last draft meeting knowing what the board looks like. I mean, there had to have been something that went on, a line of communication there that was not known by everybody at that time. And like I said, it surprised people. And that rubs people the wrong way when you put a lot of hard work and effort into something, and then you're a little bit blindsided at the end of the process. So when Jeffrey says his process is right, I say, I'm not sure I agree with you based on.
Well, here's my question then. Again, why are the drafts uneven? Roseman's only had full personnel control. I'm talking everything.
Right.
Without, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, until they take it away from him, or he's fired, or he retires. He's going to have control. So that's the best way to evaluate him. And if we're being fair here, they're uneven. And again, there's got to be there's something you can't. I know. I'm sorry for making this. We didn't want to make this a draft show, but it's a philosophy show because it's the owner sets the table.
Yeah, but it's also,
I just don't know why.
It's a process show. The owner said the process is good, so we got to talk about it. Yeah,
right. But my point is this: if Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, is saying it's good, then why are the drafts uneven? Tell me why. Right. What is your reason? This what I'm saying is what these reporters are asking, and he wouldn't give a straight answer.
Why can't you and I find one single team that we've spoken to that had a grade on Davion Taylor that was higher than 6th?
5th. I've got 5.
Oh, you got 5th. Okay.
Yeah, 5th. I got 5. Yeah,
Right. Now, how many people did you speak to that also had him as maybe an undrafted free agent?
No one, but they liked that. Yeah, I didn't have any undrafted, but wait, did you say you had one?
I had 2 teams tell me that they didn't feel like he was draftable. They loved his athleticism, don't get me wrong, but they thought he was so far behind mentally from not playing A, the position very long, and B, not playing it like an NFL linebacker, a stacked NFL linebacker, that they thought it was going to take him a long, long time to catch up to that point.
Right, because of the upbringing. He didn't play football until he was older, and I wasn't allowed to, because of his upbringing and all that stuff. And then you throw in that he's undersized and he's a particular linebacker. He's smaller, but he's fast. Now, why? Again, we don't have access to what their board looks like.
Right.
But that brings up your point. Okay, was the grade a 5 and they took him too high, or what was the reasoning? I don't know. I without having access to what the board looked like, I'm with you. That one surprised me because I was not familiar with him when they took him. And then when I was asking during the draft, it was kind of like when the Patriots took Wilson. He's still in the league as a special teams at safety. Might have been Illinois. I don't remember. Tavon Wilson is his name.
Okay.
I mean, I got a GM, he's like, dude, we got him in the 6th round. But the guy explained to me that they don't go by round. They go by their number system. They use the Belichick Ozzie Newsome numbering system, which the Eagles use, by the way. Because the Baltimore guys run the same thing.
Right.
But it's ridiculous. I don't know. Now I know why they drafted him, because they wanted the Eagles are a nickel team. I get that, but you got to do more than run fast. You got to be able to make an impact. Now, Alex Singleton can run fast, and he's an impact player. If this kid turns out to be Alex Singleton, they got it right. But we haven't seen anything yet. He hasn't played. Look, the kid also got hurt.
Yeah.
But let's see what happens with the new coaching staff. But I get your point, and I'm with you on that one. There's got to be some reason why super talented staff and the GM can't get it right every year. There's just Kevin Colbert, another guy.
Yep.
Why does he get it right just about every year? No one's perfect. Sure. Is he missed on defensive backs? Yeah, that's why he traded for Micah Fitzpatrick. But if you look at his drafts overall, he's top 3 in drafting. Why?
Absolutely. I think he might be the best, to be honest with you. He really might
sets
be the
best. Board, goes with it. They're just there's just too many people involved. Keep the great guys in your ear. As you said, and let's move on after this. Get the board set. Stay with your guys. If the owner wants to be involved and sit in or be there, great. But you can't change. I don't know. I'm not accusing him of doing anything, but I just want to. I'm just thinking of reasons. Why don't they ace it?
It's a great question. One last thing on Jeffrey, independent of the draft, that he said that I thought we should talk about. Said that he felt like the problems of the team was that they were very short-term thinking, trying to re-win another Super Bowl over the last few years. And then this year specifically, they wanted to flip the roster, but then the pandemic came, and then they felt maybe it would be more advantageous to have the veterans because everybody else would be on new coaches and new staffs and yada, yada, yada. Okay. That to me, that's classic overthinking it. And I can tell you, covering this team for 15 years, ever since Howie became GM, he and Jeffrey have always talked about making moves that make the Eagles successful, not just for the short term, but for the long term. They've specifically talked about not wanting to be 1 year, they want to be
sustainable.
Sustainable. Long-term sustainable success. Right. So it can't be acceptable to say, well, some circumstances changed and we started thinking for the short term this year and last year. No, that goes against everything that you've said you've wanted to be. So you're contradicting what your overall mantra was, which I always thought was a good mantra. I always thought you should aim to make moves that make you successful now and for the future. It's why Joe Banner and came up with the let's extend guys after 2 years system, right? To help really with the cap and to secure the nucleus and everything like that. So I found that a little bit like of an excuse that was somewhat hypocritical and shouldn't pass muster.
Look, very smart people should do it's just bizarre to me that they're not as good at draft. Look, Roseman's record in free agency, I've looked at it a couple times the last week. It's pretty good since he came back in 16. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get anything perfect. But overall, for the most part, it's been pretty solid. Drafts have been wildly inconsistent. The variance is it's striking. If you talk to people around the league and you ask them about certain players in 17, other than Barnett, a lot of people like Barnett around the league, so I had no problem with that one. He's a good player, but he needs to be better than he's been. Yeah. I mean, Nate Gary, they can't, it's got to be better than this. Fine football players. That's why Andy Weidl's here. That's why Joe Douglas was here. Okay. These guys work for Ozzie Newsome. They know how to find football players first, athletes second.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. What do I always say about identity? Also, you should have the same identity. You should look for football players. We'll get into that more down the road when we talk about the draft in general. As the Eagles have the number 6.
Sorry, folks, I went on a tangent. It just got me fired up. Jeff got me fired up.
Yeah, no, and I went on mine, but I do think you have to kind of connect the whole process thing that Jeffrey talked about to the draft, because the draft is so critical to what they do. But yes, you're right that we will continue to talk about the draft more as we get closer to it. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the promo code ITB to get your sign-up bonuses. That's promo code ITB to get all of your sign-up bonuses only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Let us move on to the coaching search. So there have been a lot of names reported already. I like the list of names that I've seen, but before I ask you about any name, right, before we talk about any name,
just so you know, not all of them put in slips yet. It's just to hear the names that are out there, hear the names that I know about that they definitely have interest in, and we'll explain. Just understand, just because they didn't put a slip in yet doesn't mean that they're not going to. It's just timing, guys are coaching, and all that stuff.
Okay. Before we get into the names, though, Adam, I want to ask you this question, because I wrote this on InsideTheBirds.com. Everybody should check it out. Look, the Eagles are going to hire somebody. Whenever you write a story or suggest that the job may not be as attractive, people say, oh, well, they'll get somebody. Well, of course they're going to get somebody. But there's 4 issues that I think are really facing this team that might complicate their hiring. One is the quarterback situation. As much of a mess as the Houston Texans are, the head coach who walks into there, as long as they can figure it out, and they're probably going to have Deshaun Watson, right? The Lions are a mess, but they'll have Matthew Stafford, who's a good quarterback. Jaguars are going to have Trevor Lawrence, so that's exciting. The Eagles, whoever walks into this job really has no idea what's going to happen right now with the quarterback situation. It's not exactly ideal at the moment with the Carson Wentz thing hovering over, and then Jalen Hurts there only having 4 starts. So that's not ideal. The cap situation is not ideal. You heard Jeffrey Lurie say that the cap problem is a 1-year phenomena. And I agree. I don't think at this time next year, we're going to be talking about cap hell, but the reality is this year coming up is going to be very difficult for them from a cap standpoint. So unsettled quarterback, not a great way to start your career with a cap situation as far as trying to get depth and maybe get a free agent or anything like that. You have an entrenched GM who's going to have control over the 53 unless anything changes. And you obviously have an owner who loves analytics and has infused that even more so into their process. So you have to really adhere and really buy into these 4 sets of circumstances here to take the job. Now, I don't you think that some guys will at least 1 or 2 of those criteria might be, looking at it a little sideways? I would.
Well, yeah. Look, if the coaching agent, whoever it is, does his homework, almost all of these guys have agents. I kind of know who most of them are. Some of them have relationships with Roseman and know him and know some of the coaches in the building, so they'll know what they're dealing with. It's it's 1 of 32 jobs, but there are questions. Unsettled quarterback situation, which no one ever saw coming. I mean, cap situation. First time in Roseman's career, he's got one, a bad one. It is a team that is going to have to take a hit this year in terms of record, most likely. I mean, you never say never in this business, because who the hell saw 2017? I mean, come on. Yeah. They had a losing record the year before. You can't make it up, but we know what happened that year. I mean, Deuce Staley knows everybody. Obviously, he's almost a lifetime Eagle as a player and a coach. So all these guys have agents. They'll have intel. They'll know the building. They know Howie. They know what the challenges are for working for the Eagles and what's good, what's bad, and all that. And they're just gonna have to make a decision. It's you talk to coaches here. They love working here. They want to win every year. They want better draft picks. They want better players. They want to win. They want to win a Super Bowl. They're no different than any other coach, but you have to have good information, and you have to understand, like, as Geoff just outlined, there's some challenges here. And you have to, if you're Lincoln Riley, I know we're going to talk about him, to leave Oklahoma, is this what you want? It's an NFL job, by the way. He'll have plenty of interest around the league, other than the Eagles, over a period of time. And I think the best point of all here is the quarterback situation. This job is phenomenal if Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz. Well, he's not anymore.
Right. Well, that's why there's a job opening. If Carson Wentz was phenomenal, there wouldn't be a job opening. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, yes, because the offense would be. You're absolutely right. Duh. I should have said that. Yeah.
No. I mean, you're making a valid point. I'm just being.
No, you're right though. I should have. You're right, because it is true though. When we look at Doug Pederson, the coaching of the quarterback's regression is tied into his job.
Right.
And that is the issue here. If you ranked the positives and negatives, the negatives are the challenges and negatives are obvious. The challenge is, it's the most significant challenge. Whoever is going to coach this football team, and I know there's some defensive guys they're going to talk to. You have to have a plan to rebuild the quarterback. If you don't, you're not even getting past the lunch. I mean, you're not coming back for a second interview. If you don't have a great coordinator candidate, a quarterback developer, there's zero chance you're getting the job. That's it.
Yep. Nope. That's right. All right. Let's get into some of the names here. Let's start with Mike Kafka. It seemed like within 3 seconds of Doug Pederson's firing, Mike Kafka's name came up. He's of course, the passing game coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, all right, you start off. Tell me what you think of Mike Kafka.
Yeah, I know you and I have checked around and stuff. The interest in him is legitimate. It's real. It's strong. The Eagles want. I can't say this enough. They want a special coach with vision, a special offensive game plan. Who better than Mike Kafka, who was drafted by the Eagles, who's developed under Andy Reid, knows Andy Reid's passing game. He's their passing game coordinator and quarterback's coach. He is super involved in their pass game. Like, he is Andy's right-hand man for the pass game, the Chiefs first told me. Okay? So, yeah, obviously, this is a guy you want to talk to. Now, I'm told as of Wednesday morning, they've not put a slip in for him anyway. They have a game this week, so it's, you wouldn't interview till you don't want to talk to him until he has a little bit more time anyway. But they're not. Look, in the end, Jeffrey Lurie was not lying when he said he's going to lead the search. Like, sometimes I think he's with Jeffrey, he just says stuff. Sometimes you wonder if he's serious. Mm-hmm. I heard that's definitely true. Like, he's really leading this one.
Okay.
Because I do believe, I think we were right on this one. This offense, after he wanted his 2 coaches fired last year, I'm not saying he was more involved. It just fired him up for he wants a special offense, like in 17.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Chief offense is way more advanced than the Eagles offense, even in 17 with the Eagles, because the athletes they have. I mean, the receivers they have, and obviously they're the best maybe the best tight end in NFL history. Hello, but the structure of it and the specialness of it, the play calling is just absurdly great and crazy. Kafka is a big part of that, man. So, now what they can do, if Eric Bieniemy does not become a head coach, they can't block him to be a coordinator here, even if he's not calling plays. Because remember, the rules are changed now. You can't block. You could. Before, you could block anyone unless it's for a head coach, but you can't do that anymore.
Well, he's not coming here to be a coordinator anyway. I mean,
how about with play calling with the new head coach?
Why? He's going to be the play caller in Kansas City.
No, but no, you didn't hear me. If Bieniemy stays.
Oh, if Bieniemy stays.
Right, Andy calls the plays anyway. He's never going to call the plays in Kansas City unless Andy does what he did with Nagy.
With Nagy, right.
Right.
I think it's still safer to be in that
I understand, but I'm just telling you,
come over here, and
you could sweeten it depending on who the head coach is.
Yeah.
Let's say they, again, they haven't made a decision whether they're going to put the slip in yet, but I know they're very interested in him to talk to him to being their head coach. What if they decide, you know what, they get it? Let's say they got Robert Saleh, who's really dynamic, but he needs a dynamic play caller, quarterback coach, developer, and all that stuff. Well, because Doug Pederson is no longer here, why wouldn't, again, unless it's an offensive head coach like Ryan Dable who might want to call the plays. I don't know that he will want to do that, but if they get to talk to him, guys hate giving up play calling. Now, Kevin Stefanski was willing to give it up, he told me before the season started. But because of the pandemic, he just didn't want to ask Alex Van Pelt. He didn't want to put too much on his plate, which is a smart move. But let's just assume everything's going to be normal this year to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Kafka would then have to have a decision. Do you come here with play calling but not being the head coach? But you're under, it could be any other coach.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, because you get that spotlight. You're you're the offensive coordinator. But here's the thing, and this goes back to what we talked about.
Okay.
I'm not. That's a bit, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. You're talking about a big risk, even being offensive coordinator for a team whose quarterback.
Well, it's a big risk for the Eagles.
No
because,
idea. Yeah. No,
right,
big risk
Mike
for Mike
is
Kafka.
Right, Mike this will be his 5th year coaching. Only his 5th year coaching. Yeah. So and he got the big promotion last year because what happened was Eagles wanted to talk to him, and just like the Niners did, they promote. I don't know how. Maybe it got out there. I don't know. I know everybody knows each other, but they gave Mike the. I remember I was at might have been the East West Shrine, so I put some scoop out about hearing that the Eagles want to talk to him or something, and they promoted him. I mean, they gave him because they knew people were going to start coming from. The word gets out in the coaching community when guys are pretty good. Mm-hmm. This guy's pretty good and pretty sharp. So that's that with Kafka. But the thing is,
but I think it's a risk on Kafka's part because if he goes to a situation to just be the offensive coordinator for a team that doesn't even have a settled quarterback situation and may not be very good next year, he's going backward. Yeah. He's going backward a little bit.
What do you know about his personality? Because that's a big thing. We talked about Press Taylor for about 6 months. What do you know?
So I have 2 things on this. One is my own personal experience because I was in the locker room a lot when he was here as a backup quarterback. If you remember, he took over. He had to play in a game in Atlanta.
Remember, if he didn't break his wrist, he might have been out Nick Foles.
Yeah, that's right. But I remember him throwing a 4th down pass to Jeremy Maclin in a game they were trying to come back and win, and Maclin dropped it. A wide open right across the middle, nice pass, and then they wound up losing the game. I'd have to go back and look exactly what happened there, like how he got into the game or whatever. But my remembrance of Mike Kafka is quiet, introvert. Like you're used to quarterbacks being more demonstrative and gregarious and having a big personality, and didn't see that with him. And I also felt he kind of got agitated at times with reporter questions, and he was a backup quarterback. It's not like he was under the fishbowl. And so that always stuck with me. And it's been good to see him rise in his career as a coach. And I've checked around, everything you would think, because he went to Northwestern. Very smart guy. He's a quarterback, good play designer, good passing game guy. All those things are true. But people will tell you he's not necessarily the loud voice that you would like a head coach, maybe, or that you normally associate with a head coach. Now, Andy Reid didn't have per se the loudest voice, but he was stern. And when he needed to let you know, as you've said before, we talked about, he'll let you know. Andy had very good leadership qualities, despite maybe being in front of the microphone, kind of different, right? And I just wonder how Mike would hold up in Philly with all of the attention and the scrutiny and the questions. And
I don't know.
Since he's young. He's 34, right?
I know. I'd
be surprised, man.
Yeah, I would be too. I'll leave it at that. But I've heard, from people who know him real well. One coach who actually recruited him out of Northwestern. The guy's in the NFL now. It's kind of funny. He was saying he really likes him. Mm-hmm. Look, I want to talk about Robert Saleh right now. I talked to people with the Seahawks who work with him. Guy were the Jaguars years ago with him. Never saw him as a head coaching candidate because you don't know when they're in their 20s. You don't see it sometimes. Mm-hmm. And now they see him as the wild man on game day. He's like this. If you're watching this on YouTube, he's like pumping his fist, and he's kind of sedate guy off the field. But game day, great. You love that. I love watching him coach. I watched him in the Niners camp, a couple years, but I mean, he's 41. The Lions, the word that I had heard is he wanted the Lions job and they wanted him, and he didn't get it yet. So, and I know he's got some other interviews coming up, and the Eagles as well. We'll see. these interviews, man, are funny. The way that I understand it, just how teams approach it, they generally have a pecking order when they go in. Doesn't mean that they're going to hire the number one guy, but they go, okay, we've done our research. This is a kind of guy I think we're going to like, but we'll see how the interviews go. Mike Tomlin was like 6th or 7th on their list. That was the one when Russ Grimace was to get it.
Mm-hmm.
No one thought he had a chance. He blew him away in the interview. He got the job. Great. Pretty good head coach, Super Bowl winner. So you never know until you talk to people. So you never know if people evolve and people change. So with Kafka, I'm not disputing anything because you and I have heard the same thing about his personality, but he's also now in his 30s. You never know. You never know until you talk to someone. So we'll see what happens there. Saleh just outlined he's Greg Cosell taught us, Geoff, on Sirius XM. He thought Saleh did one of the best coaching jobs he's seen this season of anybody because they had so many injuries, COVID issues.
Oh, yeah.
And they got super aggressive. It's like he didn't care. He's like, we're getting after it. Did a great job. Now, does that make him a head coach? Not necessarily, but it means he's smart. He adjusted on the fly. You got to be able to, as a head coach, shit's going to happen when you go, okay, what do I do now? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. You got to make decisions on the run. That you like about Robert Saleh, who is the Niners defense coordinator, who's probably got 4 or 5 interviews coming up here.
So let me ask you: did the Lions hire a GM yet? I haven't kept track of everything.
They're getting closer. They're down to like 2 or 3 guys, I think.
Okay, because I was wondering if the head coach was going to have any say in that process at all.
Don't know.
Probably not. Okay, we'll see.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
We've seen that in the past where sometimes the head coach, like if I'm not mistaken, Adam Gase was a big proponent of Joe Douglas getting the Jets job. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another thing.
Yes, correct. Because they knew each other. They only worked 1 year with Bears, but with Saleh, I do know that I heard from a source that he wants one of the 2 Mikes, McDaniel, or Matt. I think it's Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother. The name correct. Yeah,
yes,
I believe he wants. Yeah, the word around the league is he wants to bring one of them with him.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, remember they got promoted. See, again, whether it was the Eagles or another team, Shanahan got wind of it. And he promoted both of them. He gave them new titles and maybe more responsibility, definitely more money in a new title. That usually is what happens. You get more money when you get a new title in the NFL. Even if you have the same job, they give you more money so you don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens there. I thought it was funny. Kyle Shanahan had a great line with the media a week ago. He goes, I hope these teams are stupid and don't hire him so he can bring him back. He's
way to
hilarious
vouch for your guy. No, he is funny.
By the way, he might be the best in the National Football League with media. He can't not tell the truth when it comes to injuries and everything. He just gets right to it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, man.
If you could put him with Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, together, man, you would have the most media-friendly team.
Chris Ballard's awesome. He is absolutely awesome. By the way, he's very super collaborative for the draft with his people. They got input. They have debate. There's actually a great video that their website put out a couple years ago. Folks, you could probably see it on YouTube. Check. I was mesmerized by it. He allowed it. He didn't care. I remember talking. Chris is one of these guys. What you see is what you get. He doesn't really hide anything. He kind of thinks like this stuff's going to get out. He's like, look, we're not going to tell you who we like, but this is kind of the way it works in a draft room. I thought it was phenomenal. And the Eagles, by the way, they're over the years, like they'll show you glimpses. You'll see where guys are sitting and stuff. It doesn't tell you a lot, but anyway, Todd Bowles, look, they know Bowles. Todd. He worked for them years ago. They're very high on him. Todd Bowles put a slip in him with the Eagles for DeFilippo in what, 17?
As defensive coordinator, though, right?
No.
Hold on.
Todd,
16.
Todd was the head coach. No, Todd was the head coach.
I know. I just remember that he was also interviewed to be the defensive coordinator at some point. I think when Andy was looking for defensive coordinators and then wound up.
Yeah, when he originally got in there. Yeah. Well, that's how he knows
when he made Juan Castillo the defensive coordinator that year.
Yeah.
I think Todd was one of the guys who wanted to get in there. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Oh, so Todd, wait a minute. But Todd came here as a D-backs coach, right?
I don't remember. That was a little bit later.
Todd was here. Todd was definitely here.
Yeah, I know he's here because he became the defensive coordinator after
Juan got fired. Yeah, Juan got fired.
After Juan got fired, yeah.
Right, he was a DB's coach. Yeah, he was a DB's coach. But what I'm saying is when Todd was the head coach of the Jets, DeFilippo was blocked from taking the interview, but I was told by Jet source that Bowles was going to hire him as his OC. Mm-hmm. And that it just didn't. So I, maybe he wants him again as his OC. I don't know. Todd Bowles is going to interview with. He's going to interview with the Lions, Falcons, I don't have the list in front of me. I know he's got a big plate.
I think somebody reported, I think it was Sal Palantonio reported the Eagles have interest in interviewing him.
Well, no, I'm told they turned the slip in, actually.
Oh, okay. You did. All right.
Yeah, I could tell you that they actually put the slip in, but they can't. Okay. He's got a coach this week, so I'm guessing he's doing what Arthur Smith did after his game. I don't know. I don't know how he's doing it. I know some guys have done it the night before when the work is done. They do it on Zoom maybe for 2 hours or something. I don't know. But and again, Eagles want to talk to him. They know Todd, smart guy. Now he's a quiet, Mike Kafka, reserved guy. But if you know him, I don't know the guy personally, but I know guys who work for him. He gets pissed. Trust me. He brings it.
I've seen it.
Oh, you have? What have you seen? Tell me.
I remember seeing on the practice field he can get into guys when he's coaching.
Nice.
And I remember talking
to. That's good enough. See, I didn't know that. That's good. People can learn through that. That's good to know.
I remember
he's got this reputation of being too quiet and reserved.
Yeah, his press conferences stink. I mean, people will hate him. His press conferences they will hate, but his players tend to like him. I think the players enjoy playing for him. He's a big. Here's why Eagles fans might like him. All right. Because he loves the blitz. You know that. He's among the
34 guy, by the way.
Every year. Yeah, every year his teams are in the top 3 or 4 in blitz percentage. He loves it. He'll be blitzes. There's no blitzes that's too many for Todd Bowles. Plus he's a Jersey guy. He's a Jersey guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln Riley, of course, your report. Give us your intel on your report. What did you learn?
All right, I'm going to do what we call a classic tease before we get into Lincoln Riley. I'm going to remind everybody to get that free shipping and that 20% discount using that promo code ITB on manscaped.com. That's right. They've got the best grooming for your below the waist needs. All right. So ITB promo code, 20% off. That's huge. 1/5 and free shipping at manscaped.com using that promo code ITB. All right. So I do know that the Eagles have reached out to Lincoln Riley. Okay. That should surprise you. They talked to him. Yes. They did talk to him.
Okay.
And they've talked to him in the past. They drafted his quarterback. So, I mean, they
know him. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
They've got a relationship with him.
Good point.
I'm actually also told that they even had talked to Lincoln just about Jalen Reagor because I guess they played against I guess Oklahoma plays TCU, right? Yeah. So I'm sure in the process they reached out to Lincoln just to get some scouting report and things like that.
Cool.
So they have a relationship and they did reach out, and we'll have to see because look, I think nothing I'm going to tell you here from what I heard is going to be very unobvious to people, right? He's the king of Oklahoma. He's the most popular man in the state of Oklahoma. He makes $6.5 million a year. And he's not nearly under the type of fishbowl that you're going to be in Philadelphia. So I think some people are scared of this being a Chip Kelly 2.0, and I don't think it's fair to say that. Chip Kelly was a weird guy, right? As far as I know, players love playing for Lincoln Riley, but I'm told he's going to have to think about this. So so my opinion, Adam, on that would be with that knowledge is that. At the end of the day, the allure of being the man at Oklahoma and all the money that he makes and that he's a god there is going to be very difficult to overcome. But we'll see. You never know. Money talks, right?
Sure.
The one thing I was told that I think is important that might help the case here is that he just wants to coach ball. And a lot of college guys are like that. They just want to come and coach the team. I don't think he has any aspirations of wanting a lot of power or control over the roster or things like that. He just wants to coach football.
Young guy too, right? In his late 30s now.
I thought it was a little older. It might be, yeah. Wow, between him and Kafka, that's pretty young right there to have two guys in there.
Yep. Deuce Staley, obviously, Jeffrey Lurie confirmed they're going to interview him. This will be the second time he's interviewed for a head coach's job with the Eagles. I had a couple years ago, one of the Eagles assistant coaches told me absolutely will be a head coach. He's got command. Players love him. He's stern. He's exactly what you want. Who the hell cares if he's a play caller? Go get yourself a play caller. No big deal. Mm-hmm. He knows what they want. He would have to have a plan though, just like all these guys do. Who's your play caller? What kind of offense you're going to run? How innovative are they? Because if you don't have a good plan, you're not getting this job.
I would love to see it personally because I think Deuce deserves it. I think he's got the absolute perfect pulse for the locker room and some of the obstacles we talked about taking this job. He's here. He knows about it. He's persevered through it. So it's nothing's going to be a shock to him. But my personal analysis on this, Adam, is that he's been here for quite a long time, and there have been opportunities to make him the head coach before, and he was passed on. And there were even opportunities to give him. I mean, he is the assistant head coach, but he was passed on as a play caller, right? When they put Press Taylor in that position last year as the passing game coordinator. So, and even Jeff Stoutland is the run game coordinator. So, I don't know. I can see it happening if the Eagles are finding it difficult finding somebody else who wants the job. But so it might be one of those things like Doug where they go with the guy and it winds up being a great hire. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like he's probably not going to be like the highest on their list, because if he was, I feel like it would have happened.
But again, if you have a great interview, okay, he goes to the top of the list. To me, he's what you need, man. They need more command. They need someone with more command.
Yes.
Brian Daboll and Staley are very similar in terms of I've talked to the Bills coaches. I've talked to a couple of Bills people in personnel. We'll get to him next. He is ready, no question. If he wants to be head coach, he should be one. Did one of the all-time jobs I've ever seen of developing a quarterback. The job that he's done with Josh Allen, it's funny. The draftnik said that you can't improve
accuracy. Yeah.
And there's some truth to that. If they're really, really inaccurate, like Josh Allen was in college at 54%, it's just unheard of. In college football, you should be 70%.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah. He made a big jump last year, but the jump he's made just under 70% at this level.
Yeah.
It's just unheard of. And the key to Josh Allen is he cares so much. He cares so deeply, wants to be coached hard, no entitlement, and you could beat him up. You could get on his bleep. He takes it like a man, and super coachable. And the reason why is Greg Cosell. Yeah, Greg Cosell did say that he's on the fantasypoints.com Zoom session last Thursday. He said he's the most talented quarterback in the league. That includes Mahomes.
I have watched Josh Allen all year long and thought, man, that looks a lot like Carson Wentz.
I know. The game to watch, folks, if you have the access to all 22, watch that Monday night game at the Niners. It'll make your mouth drop. He made some throws, or Carson Wentz, like Geoff just said, Wentzian type throws, and Wentz in 17, but even better.
Right.
He's comfortable. He was like a magician out there. He was like, "You're not going to stop me. You can do whatever you want. I'm throwing the football, and you can't stop me." It was like you could have made this up. He was so special,
right?
And he's only going to get better because he's young and he cares, and you could coach him hard.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Chiefs got so lucky here, because a lot of people say the Bills are the team that can dethrone the Chiefs.
That was me, one of them, yeah.
Now, if the Browns hadn't upset Pittsburgh, right, because the Browns being the lowest seed now alive, they go and play Kansas City. Wouldn't it have been Chiefs-Bills this weekend, and then it would have been Steelers versus Colts? Or no, not Colts.
Well, the lowest rated team left must play the Chiefs every week.
Right.
Because they're the number one seed. So whoever that was, the Browns. If the Browns were the lowest.
Chiefs.
Wait, I'm sorry.
If Pittsburgh had beaten the Browns, wouldn't it have been Bills, Chiefs, and then Steelers? Who am I missing here? Steelers. Ravens, Steelers. No, you're right. It would have been Chiefs, Ravens, right? And now it's Chiefs, Browns instead. Chiefs,
yeah. Bills were 2, Steelers were 3, Tennessee was 4, Pittsburgh, Baltimore's 5, Cleveland was 6, Indy was 7.
Right. So now the Chiefs avoided having to play the Ravens, who are red hot, and they get to play the Browns.
And I'm pissed because I want the Bills to win so badly, and I'm very scared.
That should be a great game.
I know, it is the game of the year, man. It just, I mean, they're the one team because Baltimore's so deep at corner. I mean, they did a great job, man. They did it. They shut down Henry. Not that the Chiefs don't care about running the football, but I cannot wait to watch that game, man.
Right. I just love that the AFC playoffs are the Andy Reid Invitational. It's Andy versus Harbaugh versus McDermott versus Stefanski. It was like an assistant under Andy, didn't he? Like, wasn't he?
He worked in PR first. Then he went some super low level job, and Childress took him to Minnesota.
Oh, there you go. So there's the Andy tie. So, right. So it's the Andy Reid Invitational.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But man, I'm so scared for the Bills with the Ravens coming in.
It's gonna be amazing game.
I might have to pick the Ravens, man. I didn't have a great weekend last week. The people are killing me for these videos I do for Sports Grid. Oh my god, I didn't meet
Well, you
people.
ended up being right about the New Orleans game. It wasn't that close.
Yeah, they should have. The stupid Bears scored in the last play of the game. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
But they should have squashed them. I give the Bears credit. They play good defense. But before we get back to the coaching search here, just I really want it to be Bills Chiefs. I really do. Because I would love to see Mahomes route Josh Allen. Because the game that they played earlier this year was in the rain on a Monday night.
Right.
We were dealing with the COVID real bad. I think it was a rescheduled game for COVID. Maybe I don't. It's so long. It's 3 months ago or so. But it was an awful game. Well, the Bills are a different team though. The Bills defense was not that great. That's a concern of mine. But man, I love watching Lamar Jackson. I'm so happy he won. That was fun to watch him. There's backbreaking runs, man, with these quarterbacks. Josh Allen's had some of them.
Yep.
But no one is electric like Lamar on the ground. That'll be a great game. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Browns have a chance?
No.
Okay. I didn't either. I didn't think they could beat the Steelers.
I think they just
funny story.
Out. They just won the Super Bowl for them.
Funny story. Funny story. Jeff and I had just done our Sunday night pod. We dropped it Monday morning. So guess what the Browns score is? So Jeff could tell by the way I asked it that there's something going on here.
Yeah.
He goes, go ahead. I said 20-0 Browns. You're like, what?
Yeah,
no.
I thought it was gonna be like
I can't believe it either.
13-0 or 14-0. I did not expect 20.
Right. 28-0. There was time. Yeah, I was gonna say there was like 4 or 5 minutes left in the first quarter. It was 20-0. I was like, get the F out of here.
Yeah, that was great.
But anyway, so the coaching search. Look, there are going to be more. Brian Daboll, I'll just talk about, who's done a phenomenal job. He's really the nice thing about him is it's not that you like. It's not good when someone's been fired, but he's been through a lot of job adversity. He was fired. He's been fired. He's been through adversity. He was fired. He went through the issue with the Browns. He's a very young offensive coordinator, 33, 34 years old. Spoke to a guy who's coached with him before. Said he grew up in the business. He's worked for Saban. He's worked for Belichick, Super Bowl winner. Guys are really good. He's ready to be a head coach. There's no doubt about it. Really good temperament. Could get after it. Coaches hard. This is a guy you want to talk to. This is a guy you should be talking to. I met him at the combine. I got 2 minutes with him. Couldn't tell. I couldn't make any evaluation. But I talked to the Bills about him. They raved about him. They do not want to lose him. I don't know who the hell would be his replacement on their staff, to be honest. Chad Hall, I mean, is a great receivers coach, by the way. He's phenomenal. But I don't know that he's ready to call plays. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they would know better than I. I'm not sure.
So, real quick trivia question. What do Mike Kafka, Deuce Staley, and Brian Daboll all have in common?
Wait, Brian Daboll, Deuce Staley.
Mike Kafka, Deuce Staley.
I'm missing it. Go.
Who represents them?
Oh, Bob Lamont.
There you go. And I'm sorry. I should have said, and Doug Pederson.
Doug Pederson. Yeah, I get
and
it.
Andy
okay,
Reid.
We'll
so, I mean, that's always seems to be a big kind of thing, familiarity, comfort, and Bob does a great job.
Well, good. Look.
Yeah.
He needs to be in here.
He get an interview.
I'll tell you what, Chad Hall talking to the Bills. I mean, apparently he's got unbelievable presence. Did you see what the receivers did? They bought him a truck for Christmas.
Yes.
He's turned into some stories as a coach. Like they say he's unreal as a receivers coach.
Wow,
maybe he's ready to call plays. I don't know.
The Eagles need another one. It's another year, so the Eagles might as well have another.
Well, he can't leave. Yeah, he can't leave. Yeah, he ain't going anywhere for that. But Arthur Smith. Smith. Let's talk about him. So I talked to the Titans about him. I'm going to read you a text.
Okay.
You keep talking. I got to find it.
Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator of the Titans. The one thing about Arthur, just my own thing, is that I feel like. And look, you should never judge anybody for doing what they do best with the personnel they have. But is he more of a run guy because they run the ball so much? I mean, I'm not ignoring the fact that Ryan Tannehill has resurrected his career in Tennessee after the mess that he had with Adam Gase there in Miami. He's certainly been a good quarterback for the Titans, better than I thought, and that's a big part of the Arthur Smith story. I don't want you to think that it's just also about the running game and Derrick Henry. And I don't fault the guy for using Derrick Henry the way they do, because I don't think that Tannehill is maybe a top 5 quarterback. So he's their best weapon. It's just that I do wonder if that's really his thing, is that they run the ball a lot. And I don't know if that's going to be
their concepts are really good off the run, but you just said it. That's the thing. They're run based. You don't know as a play caller if he could take it to the next level. Plus he's got to rebuild he has to rebuild Carson Wentz. We're assuming now. We don't know if the Eagles are going to keep Wentz. We'll see how that works. People are speculating now that it should help Wentz stay because he didn't have a good relationship with Pederson, which is true. At the end, he sure didn't. And they barely talked, I was told, by the way, barely, for weeks. It is what it is. But here it is. Even keel, relates to players, innovative, takes input, consistent, demanding, knows how to delegate, knows how to manage people. It's been great in our system. Has really worked hard over the years, moved it up. He's done everything he can here. Yeah, so what happened was he's been like he's had like 5 or 6 different jobs with the Titans. He's just worked his way up, man. It's a great story. You know who his dad is?
Lee Smith.
No.
I'm just kidding. It's
I know he was the Hall of Famer.
No, I was just messing up.
Oh, the tight end of the Bills. No, I'm just kidding. Good block tight end. No, his dad is was one of the
UPS guy or FedEx.
FedEx, yeah. Fred Smith,
yeah.
He's a minority owner. I don't know if he still is Washington, and he almost the rumor in league circles was that he was after the owner of the Titans died and before he gave it to his daughter, that Fred Smith was going to buy the Titans. It never wound up happening, but that it's just a little fact. He's a really good coach. He's been you know what I liked about him? His first half of his first year calling plays didn't go very well. And he did a phenomenal job in the second half. Way more aggressive. When I say aggressive, it wasn't the pass run ratio. It's the type of plays he was running. The concepts are really good. He does a good job of understanding who his smart coaches on our staff, which a Titans guy told me. He goes, he does a great job of understanding who the guys you should be gathering information from. Make sure they're heavily involved and to help him script and put stuff together. That's important, man. You got to be able to do that. Now, as a head coach, the guy that I talked to said he's great. He's got command and he knows how to delegate. That's good, but he's the kind of guy, not a lot of people don't know him.
He kind of came out of nowhere last year when the Titans made their run. Before that,
right.
You
didn't know that exactly. You didn't know. No, I've asked a lot of coaches about him. They've run into him at the combine, Senior Bowl, pro days, and all this stuff, but they don't know him real well. But my Titans guy knew him, so he, spoke highly of him, and he liked that. He learned every level how to build a team. He's been through successes, failures with the Titans. The Titans haven't always been this good when he's been there, and he's worked with some great coaches. So this is a good pedigree guy. This is a guy who's probably going to be head coach, whether it's this year. He's also in his late 30s. It's not like he's older. So
right
there you go.
All right. I want to just cap this by saying one last thing that I meant to say before.
Okay.
In regard to Lincoln Riley. When the Eagles, you remember this, when they wanted Chip, I mean, they put a full court press on for Chip.
Yeah.
How much they were infatuated with Chip even before, Andy got fired. I mean, that's a guy that was on their radar. So Lincoln's clearly a guy who's been on their radar. It's because they've talked to him and they know him and have a relationship with him. I mean, look how quickly they reached out to him, right? So if he doesn't want, if it, like I said, if Lincoln's kind of happy being in Oklahoma and he's the king of of Oklahoma there and the governor of the state, whatever you want to call it, but Geoff and Howie feel like, hey, we really like this guy. We'll see if they put a full court press on for him. I mean, I'm just saying, when they identify somebody that they really think fits their criteria, they move on it. So we'll see what happens.
They wanted Chip. I mean, I was on that chase, the Chip chase.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was the most involved I can remember doing reporting on a coaching search. It was never ending. And then the twists and turns. I mean, it's been 7 years since 13, 14. God, this is technically be 8 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said no and he changed his mind. For some reason, I'm forgetting. What exactly happened?
Why did he say no?
No, he said no. He said no. And then he changed his mind 4 or 5 days later, right?
God, was it that short? I feel like it was an eternity in between because they talked to Brian Kelly at some coaches convention.
Kevin Sumlin, Brian Billick. That's crazy. You're right. Exactly right. They talked, but whatever it was. Everybody. What's that?
Talked to a bunch of people.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien was the first one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so I don't remember how many days, but I don't know. Some people surmise that the whole show clause thing that Chip was getting hit with made him change his mind.
Well, do you know what I asked him at his first owners meetings?
What's that?
I said, "Did you always want to be a head coach in the NFL?" He goes, "No, I didn't." That's what you just said. I didn't follow up. He deadpanned it. I was like, he goes, "No, I didn't want to."
Well, remember didn't he turn down a job with
Bucks.
Tampa Bay the year before?
Yeah. Mark Dominico, I work with at ESPN, told me that, and he wasn't mad at him. He verbally agreed, never signed the contract.
Right.
In the morning, he verbally agreed, and at night he changed his mind. He says, "I'm sorry, I just can't take it."
This guy was Josh McDaniels before Josh McDaniels.
Right. But Mark, I was surprised. Mark said that he was not disappointed. I mean, he was disappointed. But he was not mad at him. But the Josh McDaniels one, just the way it went down, because the problem is they put the press release out, the Colts team.
Yeah, it was.
I remember getting it, and then hours later, the report came out that he was getting second thoughts, but he hadn't done that. He hadn't told them no yet, and then he told him no. And I know Chris Ballard was super pissed.
I'm sure he was.
And by the way, it's not like Frank Reich was not on his radar at all. Not.
Yeah. Wow.
That was
amazing how things
turned out
happen.
to be a heck of a hire. What's
that?
It
certainly did. I said it's amazing how things happen.
I know. You never know.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in the Eagles Intel. Want to give a big shout out to our producer, Hunter Brody. You can catch his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and of course, his Twitter account is @Broads81. We'll be back on Friday morning, of course, with some more updated news on the Eagles. Until then, we want to thank you, as always, for flying with us inside the bird.